Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Gosh, it is a beautiful day with the rain shining. It's called our liquid gold here in Seattle area. I don't know about you, Archana, but this is beautiful day for me because it's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's just beautiful. How is it there?
So I'm actually in California and it's a sunny 71, like fall fall weather, but it's California fall weather. So it's a really beautiful day here today too.
Well, I am just happy to have you on. Thank you for coming on to my Conscious Mindset Chat, where we hope to provide notes of hope to people who are listening in what we're doing. We're doing things that are common in helping others heal. And so, first of all, I want to thank you for being out there, for being a healer. And for sharing your gift and your talents to the world. So thank you. And without further ado, without introducing her bio or anything, I want her to tell us a little bit because she has a lot in this. You're so much younger than I am. In the beautiful age that she's at, young age, she has done so much. And so, Achana, I want to start with the very first question. Tell us your why and how did you come to be doing the specialties that you're going to be listing right now?
So the why for me started with really working through my own personal health issues. I developed just allergies and food sensitivities at a random time in my life, maybe about 5 to 7 years ago. And I really realized that in going through that process and trying a lot of different prescriptions and treatment plans, FODMAP diets, I just wasn't able to really achieve anything that made me feel the way I once did. Nothing made me feel great. And in fact, I didn't feel supported as well as I should have been or would like to have been. And I think for me that was a big driver in deciding the type of person I wanted to be and show up for the community in that way. And
Nice.
that's really what brought me to a lot of the integrative modalities and specialties that I offer to clients and patients now.
And what are some of those modalities?
So I do integrative wellness coaching, specifically health and wellness right now. I also do Reiki energy healing, crystal therapy, and Ayurvedic consulting.
That is beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about the type of integrative wellness that you just mentioned?
So right now I'm doing health and wellness coaching. It's really helping individuals who have specific nutritional goals around decreasing cholesterol, improving their diet, improving exercise. A lot of times we get references, we as in the health and wellness community for coaching, we get patients or clients who have already had a BMI or biometric exam done. So we're really working with the information we have to try to improve and create a more optimal place for them in their health journey.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And then you also did Reiki, but not finally. But I would love to you to touch on a little bit more on Ayurveda. I just started actually becoming more aware of what's going on in Ayurveda. So if you can just tell our audience what is it, and first of all, the basic principles about it.
Okay, so I'm gonna just make it like smaller because Ayurveda is actually a holistic system that's been around for centuries. It's
Exactly.
primarily practiced in India. It has a Buddhist and Hindu origin. And the basic principles of Ayurveda are based around three humors, which are body types, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata
Mhm.
is wind, Pitta is fire, and Kapha is earth.
Mhm.
And with a few exams, we can sort of figure out where your body is being categorized, whether it's the vata, pitta, or the kapha. And based on that, there's a set principle around what time you should be eating, what time you should go to bed, ingredients you should be incorporating in foods, ingredients to avoid, foods to incorporate more. And when you know the times that are most beneficial for you to be absorbing nutrients, you create more metabolic balance in your body.
Right.
The big thing with Ayurveda is the idea that everything that is happening on the external is from the internal. So
Mm.
by fixing the internal, we can remove illnesses and negativity and really bring balance to our body that then creates a more sustainable life day in and day out.
I'm so basic, but I think this is this circle is like, right? You have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and then you start back around, right? So that's all I know about Ayurveda. The fact that there's a circle that goes around a clock that tells you what you are. But I feel like I'm a Pitta and a Kapha. Kapha because I'm gaining a lot of weight and inflammation lately due to some anxiety and some stress over the years. But I feel like I'm a very much a Vata person. I don't know, but so I would love to get a hold of you later and check out and see what I truly am and see what.
Definitely. And for anybody out there, you guys can also just Google, what doshic nature I am or what dosha I have. And there's tons of free quizzes that you can take. They're really easy. They just
Mm,
ask you questions about the way you look. Do you
mm,
have big eyebrows? Do you have big eyes? Do you have big lips? Do you have, a skinny frame? And you can get an idea around what direction you're going in. And then when you then go back and Google Vata diet, Vata lifestyle, you'll see a bunch of options and you can start incorporating and playing around with it for fun.
I,
I think you'll notice a lot of overlap. I've had a lot of clients who will be like, I've always felt like I've hated broccoli. I feel sick about broccoli. And sure enough, the Ayurveda is like, avoid broccoli. Avoid.
wow,
It
wow.
works out pretty good. But yeah, so there's definitely a lot of free resources for people to try online, just one Google away.
Well, that's so true. So, you say you practice Reiki, and do you do how? What's the longest distance you've done? You had to send Reiki to someone.
So with Reiki, I've practiced with clients across the entire United States. So I would think, and then I've also done some international work. So I would think probably international would be my longest. I
Mm,
do practice Reiki a bit differently. I really want to work with clients around autonomy. So I actually do healing guidances as opposed to sending energy. I'm working with the client on creating their own energy and putting it into themselves. So more healing hands exercises than anything.
and can you expand on that a little bit? What, give
Yeah.
us a little example. You can use me as a as a target.
Well, so, I would do a healing hands exercise where we would work on creating energy between our fingertips,
Mm,
and then creating a label for the fingertip for the energy we're creating. So as we create the excuse me, as we create the energy ball, we then can assign a color to it. We can assign a feeling to it. We can assign a purpose to it. And once we really have created the magnetic energy between our fingertips and captured a little bit of it, we can put it inside of ourselves and
mm.
treat different parts of our bodies, activate different chakras, look into how the meridians are responding to the activation of those new chakras, and then work through it that way.
Do you start with a meditation where you get the patient just to be still in their mind or still, their minds are racing. So how do
Mhm.
you get them to that space if they've never done it to feel the energy in their hands?
So, one of the first things is confidence and support. I always provide a big championing confidence and support. I do have a lot of clients where when they first start off, they're like, there's no way, like, this is a thing. I don't know. And so definitely that's one of the primary things is I want them to feel confident in what they're doing. The second thing is just deep breathing. We do a lot of 7-3 breathing. So inhale for 3, release for 7. and the breathing calms the mind, calms down the body, shifts from fight or flight to rest and digest. And
Mm,
also just check-ins. How are you feeling right now? How are you in a mindset where you want to practice this right now? Should we look into doing something else together? How do you want to
right.
best spend our time together? So really honoring the autonomy is the way to really get that rapport and start building that trust. And once you have the trust, they put it into themselves. And that's what
Mm,
we're always constantly, or I'm always constantly reminding is like autonomy. Put it into yourself. Put it into
mhm.
yourself.
When you say autonomy, what does that mean to the audience?
Autonomy, in very short, is just really self, making sure that self is the decision maker in all the choices that you choose for self. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in the most humanly way possible, it's really just you taking accountability in all the decisions that you're making for your health, for your mind, physical, physiologically, emotionally.
I love that because, especially in the spiritual realm, you have to take responsibility for where you want to go, right?
Hmm.
So if you want to have that emotional and spiritual connection, you have to say, okay, I'm ready to do the work, and
Hmm.
I'm ready to go inward and do the work. So that autonomy of that freedom to make that choice and say, okay, I'm ready,
Hmm.
and it won't happen until you're ready, right?
Definitely, definitely. It
One last.
won't stick until you're ready.
Mm. I love that. You're right. Your healing will come only when you're ready.
Hmm.
And a lot of it, we talk about the mind and the body and how the words we say is very impactful. So in Reiki, do you use any kind of mantra or while you're doing it, or it's just the feeling?
So I work with the clients on creating their I statements, which are
Mm,
mantras that they create for themselves. Like I said, I'm very much so all about individual self, the Ipse and the Idem. And so I really want clients to take on. So I give them a little bit of pre-assessment homework, which is to come up with those mantras. So,
mm,
I am strong. I am appreciating the abundance. I am worthy. I accept whatever the universe is giving me right now. I am grateful. Just
mm.
small and quick mantras about how they're feeling or where they are. And then we use those and we build around those to create the energy and the space that they're looking to be in.
Now with Reiki, I'm a master as well. We learn certain symbols to put on in the space if you're doing long distance healing or on the body if the person is physical. Do you use that practice as well?
So I use that before when I'm preparing to start a session. I
Mm,
spend about 15 minutes just preparing the room and the space, going into all the corners, creating
mm,
shokure, balance between all the space, just in the space I'm in, and preparing myself and the space to be in a collaborative space
yeah, I
uh,
love it.
where exchanging of energy is really very fluid.
Yes, so it sounds like even doing your spiritual practice prior to the client coming in is a vital part of your practice.
Yes, in any integrative modality, excuse me, in any integrative modality, it's really, really crucial to prepare yourself before every session, no matter what modality you're practicing, because it is a lot of unloading that's happening and it's unseen unloading. You're having
Mm-hmm.
somebody really talk with you and it feels like a conversation, but when you walk away, you can definitely feel the heaviness and they feel lighter. And we
Exactly.
have to continue to make sure there's water in our cup before we go and pour into any other cup. So definitely.
Exactly. That's a good lead into the next question as to how do you release the energy once the client is gone because you've taken the load away from them and now normally it doesn't go stay in your body, it just passes through. So what medium do you use to get that energy out of the space again?
So for me, I have a Tibetan singing bowl. For the audience who doesn't know, it looks like this.
Nice. Yeah.
And it comes with a little thing and it makes a little sound like that. And so for me, I've really been working and practicing around hearing. When I hear that sound, my body sort of releases the energy and you can sort of like release it out of your body. And I open the door and then the energy is out into the world and being repurposed for other things.
That is so cool. That is so cool. That's beautiful. One final question. I said there was a final question 2 questions ago. But in the morning, I do my own version of a Reiki balance for myself. Do you
Mhm.
find yourself doing that a practice for yourself in the morning before you start your day?
Hmm. I find myself really exploring between varying modalities, qigong, meditation, yoga.
Mm.
So for me, it really, maybe I should get like a spin the wheel where I just spin it and whatever comes up, I do it that day. But it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. And sometimes I'm not really in the mood to do anything and I'll just lay in bed,
I love that.
or, a little NDRE or something and just really chill out, or Leon Lahavas. But sometimes sometimes the self-care looks like that. Just staying in bed an extra 15-20 minutes. So
I love it. I love it. So there's a question that shows up because I've known you for a couple of years. I think it's 3 years now. Oh my
yeah,
goodness, time is flying. So
definitely.
we're both classmates at Saybrook University, and she is just a fireball. But she's a comedian, and she's not telling anyone. She can dance too. So we're gonna dance at the end. But how does resiliency show up with all the stuff that you've had to go through? With your illness, with showing up at work. Because are you still a neurophysicist? Because the last time I met you, you were a neurophysicist, right?
So physiologist.
Oh, something like that.
No, definitely. I think physicist is much more out of my wheelhouse. Physiologist, and yes, I do. I've actually brought in a lot of the practices I've been learning, or I have learned during my time at Saybrook, into my work right now, and making sure I'm creating that like dualistic model between the Western and Eastern medical models that are already existing right now.
Yeah, one of the things that we're learning at Saybrook is the fact that this contemporary alternative method is really beautiful to just merge with Western medicine, bringing the East and the West together. And so, what do you find to be your most common merger of the two?
My most common merger would be the Ayurvedic consulting
Mhm.
with whatever is going on the Western side, which would be prescription medications. It's really very beneficial and has been very beneficial for a lot of patients who have been open to doing a dual therapy model. They've
Mhm.
really been able to pick up energy, pick up pace, have much more positive psychology and a greater form of emotional intelligence when dealing with their diagnoses, and actually also dealing with the side effects of the prescription medication. So it's been a very additive um, model that's been really lucrative for a lot of my patients so far.
Oh, nice. You've already mentioned a part of it about staying in bed a little bit, but how does self-care show up for you?
Self-care for me, I would say, was I didn't really understand self-care for the longest time. I actually really did think self-care was just like the traditional, like listening to motivational videos, like Pima Chodron and Sadhguru,
Mm,
staying in bed longer, sleeping. And honestly, what I really found out self-care looks like for me was actually steering into the skid, in a
mm,
way where indulging is not just for the positive, but it's also in the negative. I do experience days where I don't really want to talk with people. I want to introvert. I have days where I'm really tired. I have days I'm being emotional or dramatic or I'm irritable. And for me, it was about accepting those feelings and steering into that skid, letting them actually be present, acknowledging them, and going with it anyways, going with the flow. And so writing them out. And for me, that's where the self-care really started showing up, was when I stopped ignoring or trying to remove or get rid of parts of myself, but rather actually acknowledging and accepting all the parts of myself. It
I'm
creates a bigger
typing.
sense of wholeness.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to type in one last question, and then we're going to do rapid fire because this is too much. This is just too much. This itself is going to be all over the place. You ready for it? Uh, have you experienced a dark night of your soul?
I have actually a few of those.
Mm.
My darkest would probably be when I was really at the edge of going through all these digestive issues. I couldn't really take prescription medications. They were making me sick, so I stopped that. My food journal was like, I just don't eat. The FODMAP diet was just extremely exhaustive. It was like, don't eat fruit, don't have natural sugar, don't eat processed sugar, don't eat rice, don't eat carbs. I just kept asking every day, like, what am I supposed to eat? Don't eat. It was bland food. I was going through, symptoms of insomnia where I just couldn't sleep at night. I was having abdominal pains. And I felt alone. I didn't feel like anybody really noticed. I felt like everyone genuinely was going on with their lives.
Mm.
And it didn't really matter. And for me, that was a really hard time. I started getting agoraphobic. I didn't want to leave the house, introverting at high levels where, I just didn't even feel comfortable going out with family, like even for a quick lunch, leaving the home. I couldn't even take my dog for a walk around the block. It was just so
Mm.
bad, like without me having some sort of like just anxiousness or anxious feeling where, your throat just starts to close up and your heart's beating so fast and you want to kind of pass out and you want it to all go away. Um, and it wasn't until I really went through all of that, all of those days and all of those moments where I really started to understand what a lot of patients and community and members in the community were going through.
Yeah.
It's so easy for us to override feelings like that and say, well, just get over it. It'll go away. Nothing's going to happen to you. And it's not that easy. I lost a sense of trust to take care of myself,
Mm.
and I had to rebuild that. And the way that I did that was honestly just reading about everything. It was like,
Mhm.
okay, if I feel like I'm being anxious, what is anxiety? Let me go get a book about it and read about it. What are people out there saying about it? And I read this really great book called Dare, um, that really, really helped me understand that a lot of times what we're most fearful of are symptoms or side effects that we're experiencing, but not the actual label in itself. So it's so quick for us to say, like, I'm so depressed or I'm so anxious. But actually, no, I fear the side effects of feelings around depression and feelings around anxiety. And that for me I had to realize, like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
we're just actually afraid to have a panic attack in public somewhere, but we're not
Mhm.
actually like having, we're not actually having anxiety. We're just afraid of the side effects of being anxious in public and what that looks like. So
Mm.
rebuilding, rebuilding was there. Also, I have a dog. His name is Chief. Is this the He looks like this.
Oh, he's a cutie. Oh.
Yeah, he's literally the best thing ever. And when I was at home, with my family, even though my family was really busy with, things that they had going on, Chief was with me all the time, every
Mm.
day, everywhere. He follows me everywhere. I never was anywhere alone. So, if anybody is feeling a little lonely and I would really recommend an emotional support animal, whether it's a dog, a cat, a rabbit, fish, whatever.
You
But
know, a lot of folks did that during the COVID time when, especially the ones that had to isolate and don't have family. A
mhm,
lot of those single people um, went into the pet shelters and just gutted it. I mean, basically, most of the pet shelters are empty because COVID kind of opened up our awareness that when we're alone, we don't know what to do with ourselves. And the healing starts when we start going inward and start really having a communication with ourselves and feeling that we're not, oh, I'm an individual, I'm alone, but there's a collective. The entire world is going through the same thing. And the fact that the entire world got COVID is a realization that we are a collective.
mhm,
you know I'm really hoping that's one thing lesson that COVID has brought to people, is that we are not alone. And the fact that people in Italy and all over the world were pushing out their open their windows and playing their music and tapping into their creativity, and when they tapped into that creativity, guess what came out? the same thing that your dog gives you, that unconditional love, that oxytocin releasing into your body, that love hormone that says, I belong, I need to be a part of a group. And so the realization of that hormone in your body says, I need to be around people because we're social beings. But we've forgotten, some of us have forgotten that the importance of being a social being is that we have to learn to live together respectfully.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
honestly, also there's so many great philosophers like Robert Lang, Eric Fromm, Neumann, who have really touched on that idea of what it is to be a human and
Mm,
have that yearning to care and be cared for. Um,
mm,
and Meyerhoff is big about, the other. What does it look like to care for the other? And
mhm.
oftentimes that's what brings us back to the fact that we're human. We're human beings. And I think we miss that a lot because we involuntarily go out into the world and do a lot of things that we don't have a debt of gratitude towards. And I think COVID really, I see that. I think COVID really, really brought that.
So, how do you define your human, my dear? How are you?
How
Who's
do
the soul? Who's the soul? I mean, I want to know that the human that you are, the soul that's in you, that combines with the body. Who are you? Ooh,
I
deep.
know that's a really loaded question, and also I don't know. I'm on
Mm,
the discovery of what that person looks like, and
mm.
I don't know if I really have a destination, but I am actually enjoying the journey and being okay with knowing that there's no destination.
I love that. Just being
Hmm.
present
Yeah,
and not
not
worrying about
existing,
how it's
but
going.
being.
Yes, just being.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. One last question, and then we're going to do a rapid fire because Achana has to get back to work. And I love the fact that she's just here with us. How does intuition show up? And it's really, that one is going back to your dark night of the soul. At any point in your during those several dark nights, did your intuition speak to you in a form of a vision, in the form of a word or music? How did it show up during those periods?
So intuition for me is a guiding light or a guiding voice oftentimes, and it's really my very motivationally motivated self that is in my head that's like, okay, we need to get up. We need to do some stuff. We have things we need to get done. We need to do them. What does it look like for us to get them done? That person is very stoic and very austere, and that person definitely reminds me of like, hey, we have goals.
Mm,
What do those goals look like? How do we start to get to those goals? Even if we don't get to it tomorrow, what does it look like for us to take a step forward and then move forward and then move forward? And that was the guiding voice and light in my head during those times and during that day where it was like, okay, we know that we have all of these things. What's the next step? What does it look like? Okay, let's find out about these things. Let's read about these things. Let's actually take back some of this control and then
mm,
move forward in the direction that we think is going to be the most conducive to self.
mm.
So that's really how intuition has always showed up for me during that time. And presently, intuition now is showing up for me more in an empath, sort of sympath way, where I'm trying to figure out what relatability looks like.
Mm. I think I remember you had a conversation about that you're still working on that and seeing how that shows up for you in your work. How's that been since the last time? Because that was over a year ago when you
Mhm.
started really diving into that realization of that essence that you would like to be a part of.
So it's been really great actually reading. I spent all of COVID being a very big bookworm in a lot of philosophy around life and metaphysics, and political theory, and just tons of Aristotle and Plato and Hannah Arendt and anybody and everybody you can think of. I've just been reading, and that was really the gateway for me in
Mm,
understanding the balance between being relatable and being compassionate and still protecting my energy and myself.
mm. You just hit something really good there. And so, how do you protect your energy? I think the word that comes to mind for me is boundaries. So how do you establish a healthy boundaries at home? Because most people are working from home. So you have a big family, correct?
I don't have a big family. It's just my brother and I.
That's
Uh,
big enough.
so in terms
So,
of siblings, like my
uh,
parents, my brother and I, but and then my brother has a family, so um,
yeah.
it can it can get big, but we're a good size. We're a good size medium family. Um, so
So
with sorry.
yeah, so how do you establish that healthy boundary personally at home and then at work?
So with work, the boundaries really look like really reminding myself that it's not personal, it's business.
Mm, mm,
Really, really reminding myself that it's not personal. You have a lot of interactions with coworkers and patients that are extremely agitated and on edge because they're saddened or worried or frustrated. And in those moments, you really have to remind yourself that anything and everything that's being thrown out there is not personal.
mm,
And the second thing is actually realizing that you don't have to pick everything up. Just because
mm,
it was thrown out there doesn't mean you have to pick it up. So that boundary is really for self, really understanding that with family and home boundaries, those boundaries for me are really about just the nonviolent communication.
mm,
And really working through a lot of those things, not jumping to make it personal again, but thinking about what the love language looks like. Everybody
mm,
communicates differently, and really using positive reframing to talk through a lot of the things that are there. And also being a leader, showing up for my family in a way where it's like, hey, we're no longer going to be doing or participating in these negative things. Like, I don't want to do gossip anymore. I don't want to do negative connotative behavior around each other or other people. I actually just don't want to hear it. Like,
mm.
when we don't need to say it, and really thinking about the value of our words in that context of what we're really manifesting for ourselves and other people.
I
Um,
love that. I really love that. I was just having the conversation yesterday and then this morning about those very words that you said. And one of the things that came out of your conversation was positive reframing. Can you expand a little bit on positive reframing or give a quick example for the audience?
yeah, I just saw a great example of positive reframing on a meme I saw on social media. But she said, "My husband told me I was pretty today," and her husband said, "I said you were pretty annoying." And she was like, "But I'm being positive and focusing on the positive. You said I was pretty." So that is an example of positive reframing.
That's
Um,
right.
for all of you guys out there. But positive reframing, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort in self. It's really about you thinking about not so much focusing on the negative things that are there that are meant to hurt you, but actually
Mhm.
thinking about what the underlying transformational agenda is
Yeah.
that's being communicated there. And with that comes a lot of trust. You have to trust the person to be who they are, not the person to be who you want them to be.
That's
And
so
that's where
good.
a lot of the communication gets befuddled and muddled up.
I love that you already get that at your young age. you know, seeing the person for who they are unconditionally, despite what you think they should be. I just love it. Okay, my dear, what was your favorite book that you read so far? This.
My favorite book that I've read so far is The Human Condition by Hannah
Mm,
Arendt. She's a real brick house philosopher. I really love her. And I would recommend any of her books. Her perspective um, is great. She also has a movie about her life, which is really wonderful too for anyone who doesn't like to read and just wants to watch a movie.
I love it. And then this question, my dear, what do you do to raise your vibration when, oh, I can't spell when, but when you sense a dip in energy?
Hiking, rock climbing, nature walks, going out to the closest lake or the closest park or the closest place that's heavily forested, and really being in that space. I also love sunbathing. I know that fall's coming up now, so it's harder to do that, but the nature walking, the hiking, the rock climbing, and the sunbathing is really those are the big ones for me when it comes to dips in my energy.
I love sunbathing in the nude too, like completely nude.
I would like to do that, but I live in an apartment complex.
Oh,
So.
no, you can't do it there. You got to go up high in the mountain where nobody is and just do it. I'm only kidding. So, who do you consider as a mentor or mentors?
So I have a lot, but my biggest mentor would really be my mother. She's actually really installed restorative behavior in me from when I was really young. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know what it was or what it looked like, and none of that. But even to this day, she's just a real fighter in a real brick house. And even to this day, she always tells me, she's like, just talk to yourself. Just talk to yourself,
Mm,
calm yourself down, tell yourself it's going to be okay. You're going to work through things. She was like, if something's bothering you, ask yourself, how is it benefiting you to worry about it? Move forward, move forward. Always be progressive. And she is somebody who's always willing to help. She's always willing to provide any type of assistance or support in any capacity, on the phone, showing up in person. Um, so for me, it would really be her. Yeah, all the time. I love her. I call her twice a day. So we're we're always in contact.
I absolutely love that. And this is a COVID question. Let me see if I can find it because I don't have my glasses. My glasses have this crazy glare. Do you feel supported right now, emotionally, mentally? How do you feel supported right now?
I do. I feel supported. I always feel supported. I don't always
Mm,
acknowledge the support, which there's a big distinction there, but I always feel supported.
mm,
And I really honestly owe that a lot to not only my small community of close friends, but my family. My family has always really supported me and showed up for me. Um, and I've always owed a real debt of gratitude for that.
How long do you wait before you acknowledge? Because you said you don't always acknowledge the support because of course you go inward and you forget the the collective part. So how long do you allow your body or your mind to go into a space of not accepting or are you saying acknowledging like recognizing and letting the person know?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I think that sometimes the support is there, and when you don't acknowledge it or let it in, a lot of times the other again,
Yeah.
care looks a little different for them because they feel like, well, I'm trying my best to help you and you don't want my help.
Yeah.
And for me, the way that I've really acknowledged it has been through communication.
Mm.
Really letting people know, even my family sometimes, that, I'm not really ready to receive what you have for me. But when I do, I will let you know.
I love that. I love that. And you said it with a grace of love and grace and love and compassion. And so we, that's a great ending to our question here is how can you bring compassion into a conversation that warrants more barriers than anything when you're having that conversation with someone?
I have struggled with compassion for a
Mm.
while because I'm not the most sympathetic person. And for me, the best thing I can offer people is to go with the most sincerest or genuine thought that you have. And I think a lot of times people think compassion has to be expressed, but actually compassion can be nonverbal. Sometimes it really just looks like holding somebody's hand, giving somebody, just a pat on the back, a pat on the shoulder, um, just texting somebody and letting them know that you're here for them, or you're available, or you are reachable or accessible.
I
Um,
like, yeah, I like to say compassion sits in the house of holding space. In the space of holding, you're allowing compassion, empathy, and unconditioned positive regard to sit in the house. So, how do you build your house? acknowledging people, other people around you, is so important.
I think for me, the way that I started with building my house was acknowledging myself.
Nice.
Um, Acknowledging the work that I do,
Mhm.
acknowledging that the work that I do is of value. It's a contribution, and it doesn't matter if it only contributes to one person, but it still contributes. And once I was able to really acknowledge myself, it became so easy and clear, like I had gratitude goggles on about everything and everyone that was around me and what was going on. And I think the bigger thing that COVID really taught me was how to really actually magnify that gratitude to an even more tertiary level. So the second layer of gratitude really was like, oh, thank you, mom, for cooking me this meal. Thank you, brother, for calling and checking in on me. Thank you, nephew, for teaching me how to be a fun loving kid that just wants to blow bubbles or ride a scooter outside. Like, there's so much
Mhm.
gratitude in those little things. Thank you, universe, for the air. Thank you, body. Thank you, organs, for eating up all of the junk food and not feeling sick. Like, thank you for doing all of that.
I
But then
love.
the tertiary level that I learned with COVID was thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for work today. Thank you for showing up for the community today.
Mm,
Thank you for having a presence. And
love
I
it.
don't just like medical providers and um, first person responders, but also like thank you for showing up the janitor.
Yes.
Like, thank you
Yes.
for showing up the bag clerk. Thank you for showing up the supervisor who works at the bank because people still have checks and still need money to be like deposited and be bills to be paid. Like, thank
Yeah.
you software companies for processing and keeping Wi-Fi alive up like so people can Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. Like it's just so many different platforms and things that we take for granted. Thank you, ashtray, because
Mm,
nobody wants to hold a burnt out cigarette. Like, thank you for doing your job, ashtray. Seriously, it's now,
yeah.
thank you, post-its, because I leave notes everywhere all the time. Like, it's like so great. So
Yeah.
I think the tertiary level and being in this lockdown in this COVID space really taught me to go to that third and fourth external layer of building the house really actually means acknowledging every
Mm,
small thing, big and tall, short and
absolutely love it, Archana. And finally, my dear, before I wrap your question, in your work that you do, what is your sole intention for that?
my sole intention in the work that I do is to bring back autonomy into the
Mm,
community and specifically to everyone in the community, but specifically to the immigrant subgroup communities,
mm,
the people that really came here and felt like they don't have a lot of choices but to play into the system of the way the structure works.
mm,
And I want them to know that actually the processes, the beliefs, the culture that you brought over not only make up our community, but
mhm.
actually make up who you are as a person. And
Can you just touch a little bit more on that, Achana? Because that is very important. Because I believe, if I recall, this is a part of your study. You wanted to do online health, telehealth, right? Would that be a part of how you would reach them and try to empower them with who they are?
Yeah, so telehealth is really fantastic for you guys. Telehealth is really just the way you've been receiving healthcare during COVID, just through the computer. My biggest idea and belief around telehealth was really accessing and reaching different countries across the globe that don't necessarily have the level of academia, education, and scholars that we have here presenting constant new research into the medical field and into the way that the world works. There's people all over the world who don't even know what a band-aid is. They don't know what
Mhm.
to do if they have a cut. They don't know what germs look like. They don't know how to heal wounds. And a lot of times these do heal themselves depending on their age demographic, but a lot of times they don't. They actually then can multiply into other things that are not only not widely accepted, but not widely understood. And
Mm.
so that would be what that looks like.
So, I think we did a class where we talked about when I think it was their intermediate coaching class, where we talk about when in the heart of the conversation, you tap into your intuition. And so as you're speaking, my entire brain and my entire back and my chest is just sending these cool chills down my spine because you are speaking at that vibration of your passion. And so I know that telehealth and bringing it to the world is your passion. That's your soul passion. And if anything, I want to tell you, Archana, is just keep going because you have some people out here championing for your success. And I really look forward to seeing you succeed in all that you do and all the sparks and the notes of hopes that you bring to people out throughout the world.
Well, I really received that warmly, and I would say the same. Continue to have this platform where we can come together and really collaboratively talk about the different modalities and options that people have, because it's bigger than just prescriptions and getting preventative health. Preventative health really looks like you checking in with yourself, you getting the sleep you need, you eating the foods that you need to eat to provide your body nourishment. And not in a way that's just I'm eating fruits because they're good for me, but in a way where I'm eating fruits because my body uses this energy to wake me up every day so I can do whatever it is that I'm passionate about. From the
Wow.
person who's making clothes to the person who's selling produce to the person who's going in for a midnight shift at the hospital. Like every
Yeah.
single person, that collectivist culture is really actually what makes the
Woo.
divinity of mankind so hopeful.
So here's a big thing.
Yeah.
I was just talking last night to Kristen Giesland. She's a tarot card theta healer, and she was talking about, how do we bring in empathy and compassion and understanding that we are all a part of a collective. And one of the thing is, oh my goodness, we are culture. If we just identify as culture, that is our root. And I was
Mhm.
telling her about how one of my white friends couldn't understand what her roots is, what is her history, because she was like, we came to America, we took over everything, but what am I? I said, well, you are everything. That whatever the culture has created, that is you. So if we can just identify as Americans, that we're living in here with a pot of gold of culture and just really see everyone's gift, that is our culture. That is our roots. That is our history. And if everyone can come across with that idea and acceptance of everyone, we would be so much better. I really hope and wish that we can finally get there soon.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, each of us is really just abundance at the end of the
Yes.
day. Bag
I
of
can,
abundance.
yes, bag of gold. All right, are you ready, my dear? Rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I have to put my glasses on for this because I can't see anything. All right. So the instruction is basically I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say two words. And
Okay.
without hesitation, I just want you to answer which one comes to your mind first.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Red or black?
Black.
Fire or water?
Fire.
Drums or piano?
Piano.
Cry or dance?
Dance.
Hug or shake? Hug or shake?
Hug.
Pretend or fake?
Fake.
That is it. That was so easy.
I was really nervous. I
I
felt
know
like
you thought it was going to
I
be. I know you thought it was going to be something hard, but no, I just love the fun and the play. And if we can find play with even what we're doing right here, bringing to you guys notes of hope, and at the end play, that's great. That's where our vibration starts to heal. Archana, do you have any final advice to our audience?
just want to say my final advice would be to keep exploring. Um,
Mm,
keep exploring yourself. Don't be so
mm.
quick to decide who you want to be. There's always time to reset. So can just keep exploring.
I'm adding that at the end, girl. Look at that. Keep exploring yourself. Achana, thank you so much for all that you do in this world. And I'm about to just end this with another dance. I hope you guys can do it.
Thank
Come on.
you.
Hold on. I'm going to share my screen. Let me find it. So thank you guys so much for all you do. Here we go.
You're welcome.